Hello, my name is Cher Grieving, and this is my Module 5 for EDL 952. The presentation is on social media in education. For this assignment, we were assigned an article to read, in which included a survey taken by K through 12 educators on social networking. In this survey, 82,900 educators were surveyed, with the majority being teachers, followed by principals, and finally library media specialists. There were only 1,284 responses to this survey. That is at a 1.55% rate of completion. Some demographics of the respondents who completed the survey include 75% female and only 25% male. The largest majority percentage of respondents had 21 or more years of education, followed by the middle level of 11 to 20 years, and then those just new to education, 2 to 10 years, only 23% of those people responded. The respondents, 52% of them were from a suburban area, where you can see 25% from urban and 14% from rural. And this survey was given in 48 states, plus the District of Columbia. When looking through the survey results, I just bulleted a few highlights, and then I will talk further about the survey results that I learned from the article. And first of all, we need to remember that the survey was conducted in 2009, so 10 years ago. It is a little outdated, but I did go ahead and put a graphic here of all of the social networking sites that we have in today's world that educators and students use. But getting back to some of the survey results, first of all, 61% of educators surveyed already had belonged to one or more social networking site. More women than men belonging to one or more social networking site. The largest percentage of educators who belonged to a site belonged to Facebook. It had the largest number of members in this survey. Of course, the younger educators were more likely to be members of social networking sites. However, they did find that 42% of older educators, 55 years or older, also belonged to one or more sites. The frequency use of social networking sites just vary. It varies between your profession, the educator versus principal, versus maybe aide or library media specialist. It varies according to age, of course, and according to the person's age, according to their experience, maybe just according to their confidence level on how confident they are in using some of these sites. Obviously, some of the older respondents are not as confident using these sites because they didn't grow up with these sites. This is all new, and technology is a little scary to them. Teachers use these sites in different ways in their classroom and with their networking with their students and their parents than principals do. Principals may use it more with networking with other administrators and professional groups, and teachers may use them as a curriculum tool. And students, we know the number one reason students use social networking sites is for peer contact, peer communication, stay in contact with their friends, not necessarily for any educational use. Especially at this time, maybe 10 years ago, the push was more for an educational use, but now the use of social networking is good or bad, more for relationships. So I went ahead and put some of my thoughts down here on the positive uses of social media in schools, and I really feel like teachers are beginning to use social media sites to keep in contact with their students. We do use email, but I know that teachers are using other ways of communicating with their students, and that not necessarily by texting, but maybe by having a website or a web page for their classroom, maybe by having a Google Doc, Google Forms, newsletters sent through email home, Facebook pages even for maybe the entire school, but some classrooms have their own Facebook pages as well. Um, we use social media in schools to communicate and collaborate with stakeholders. And again, this can be through email, but mostly through Facebook posts or tweets. We're communicating, but also we do collaborate. When you tweet, you can collaborate because you can comment back and reply back. LinkedIn is also a way of communicating and collaborating. We promote our school, we promote our students, and we promote our activities through social networking all the time. This is the big push for this, school websites. Um, each school website, each teacher is supposed to design and create their page or have it designed and created for them. Classrooms have their own Facebook pages. Classrooms have their own maybe websites. We have teachers who have Twitter accounts and tweet about their students to promote what's going on in the classroom. We have, oh gosh, just a numerous list of ways that we're promoting our school, our students, and our activities through social networking. And then finally, we can use it as a curriculum tool to research, study, and learn within the classroom. You have to be careful, and you can get very creative in how you do this, but teachers are doing it all the time. Grabs the students' attentions, and it grabs the student's attention, and it's the 21st century, and these are the skills that students are most comfortable using and probably most effective in the classroom. That some negative effects of social media on students include exposure to cyberbullying. Anytime you're asking or allowing those kids to get out their devices and use those devices, we are opening it up for maybe exposure to cyberbullying, just misusing their devices, and what we're asking them to do just to maybe, I guess, bully another student. We see it a lot. Students get on and they start looking at each other's Facebook pages, each other's tweets, each other's Instagram, and they're comparing themselves to others, and that can also come to play in social emotional and the way they feel about themselves and the complex that they have about themselves after looking at what others are doing. We've seen the tweets and we've seen the Instagram posts and the Facebook posts. We are promoting poor usages of grammar and word usage and spelling because, well, in a tweet you can only use so many characters, so people don't use punctuation. Nobody capitalizes their words and their beginning of sentences, and yeah, it gets pretty ugly from a teacher standpoint. And then finally, we have again some social emotional issues here. Ones can have a feeling of anxiety, envy, or isolation if you're asking the student to use technology in the classroom. It's not always a good thing because not every student thrives with a device in their hand. So now what? What's the impact this all has on schools? So schools, including my own, we have one-to-one devices. One-to-one devices. We have iPads in kindergarten through 8th grade. We have laptops in 9th through 12th grade. And so each student, when they come to school, first thing in the morning, they get out their device, whatever that may be, besides their phones, because I'll get to that in a minute. We allow the phones in the classroom. They're on their device. So here's an educator, new to education or been in education for 30 years, and here we are expecting the device usage to happen in the classroom and to apply it towards whatever curriculum you can to best benefit the student. So speaking of the teachers that have been in education for longer, we need to provide some professional development for those teachers because those teachers are not comfortable using the technology. A lot of times the students know more than them, and that sometimes is intimidating for the teachers. So I guess if we're going to make technology an integral part of the classroom, we need to provide professional development for these educators. So that leads me to the acceptable use policy. Need to have it. You better have it, and better be presentable at orientation at the beginning of the year, every year. Students need to read it, parents need to read it, needs to be signed off on. They need to know what the acceptable uses are for each device in the classroom. We cover everything from using the device at school, and then you can pay a fee to take the device home. We allow our high school kids to take their laptops home, and supposed to be that so that they can continue working on assignments, completing homework at home. You obviously can't expect them to work on an assignment in school and then send it home, but you better have an acceptable use policy in play, because then they start using it for their own private and social networking, and they're going to misuse it some way, and there needs to be consequences. So yes, we have a cell phone policy that allows cell phones to be used in the classroom. This too can be a problem when it comes to the negative uses of technology, because kids are sneaky and they want to be Instagramming and Snapchatting and tweeting or whatever instead of what they're supposed to be using their phones for, which may be simple, maybe research, maybe blogging, maybe just a homework organizational tool and filling out their calendar. But yes, we do allow them to use their cell phones in school, and our mission is to teach them how to be responsible users, because when they leave high school, that is what they have, and that is what they will use all through their post-secondary, all through adulthood. As you well know, it's our brain, it's our lifeline, and so if we take it away and we lock them up during school, we're just going to create a bunch of liars and cheaters and manipulators. We have tech fees that go along with our device usage. This was pretty new a couple years ago. First of all, parents weren't happy about it, but when they realized that about 90% of what they do in school is on a device, they realized the importance that they need to pay that tech fee so their students can contain their device and even bring their device home in high school. It's caused some work for educators and administrators to write those tech grants to secure those funds. What happened to keyboarding skills? We don't even teach keyboarding skills anymore. We have iPads in kindergarten, and our kids learn to type on an iPad, and you know that you don't use home row on an iPad. So when they get onto their laptop, they're teaching themselves home row and how to correctly use their fingers to type if they want to work that hard. If not, it's the hunt and peck method. And then I was at a workshop this past spring, and we talked about the lack of imaginary play, the fact that we have students that don't have to build that firehouse out of Legos. They don't have to build that fire truck out of Legos and push that fire truck along the floor and make the engine noise and then make the siren noise. We don't have that imaginary play. We don't have that sound of the water coming out of the hose to put out the fire, and the firemen, rescuing the people from their Lego building, because it's all right there on our iPad. We push a button, the truck moves. We push a button, the truck makes the siren noise. We just listen by pushing buttons. We don't ever actually use our motor skills to make things move. We don't use our voices to make things sound. We have animals on the iPad. We push a button and it makes a sound. We don't actually use our imagination to figure that out. So that's become a problem. With no imaginary play, students are learning how to swipe and push buttons on these devices. So we need to be careful as educators. Don't forget traditional methods, and really provide professional development so these educators understand the negative and positive effects of social networking in the schools. Thank you for watching.